Hi, welcome to the Witching Hour. Welcome to your Soul to Soul reading for October 6th, 2017. The date is flexible. You can go back to this reading 6 years from now and it will be relevant. So time is a fluid thing. The date is just the date that I happen to be making it. So it's not pertinent only to today. So welcome again. Hello again. Good to see you. I'm sorry that the way my device is set up, I can't look directly into your eyes as I'm filming. And I don't like that because I'm a soul-to-soul reader, and I'm like Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid. It's like, always look eye, and that's me, and I can't with this device, so I wanted to apologize. Anyways, I'm giving a reading today. I've shuffled and drawn the cards, but they're flipped over, and I don't know what they are. 3 popped out, and then I drew 3. So we'll see what's what. And in light of all the stuff we've been talking about to help you sort out your emotions, you know, there's a lot of transitional changes going on, a lot of awareness of kind of the universe shedding light on everything, on the good, the bad, and the ugly. Everybody's good, bad, and ugly. Your own, that of others. And so the awareness itself can be very emotionally intense. It can make you want to move away from that pain rather quickly, or it can shed light on this beautiful new future that you just want to make a mad dash for. And we're being advised to, you know, bring it down and calmly go ahead, because those rash decisions will have long-term effects. The karma is setting to rights a long-term accumulated karma, and it's setting forth a long-term new karmic cycle. And maybe you'll get off the karmic wheel entirely. Maybe you're just like, I'm done. I'm going to just be raw, pure individual and just live so much from my core self, I'm just not going to even think about accumulating karma or having to deal with it. You know, that's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. If you want to choose to do that, you can. We're not locked in or enslaved to karma. So, in light of all that, the full moon having brought up a lot of emotions and uncovering a lot of what's hidden underneath, your subconscious mind, your shadow, etc., and all that jazz, you might be being illuminated to see what is simply unconscious darkness that needs to come to light, that doesn't serve you, about yourself or others. And you might be coming to light, like what the eclipse did, is coming to light like what's really toxic, like what's but for everybody to see. So it's like we're all being exposed to one another, and how all of those behaviors and interactions interrelate to one another, and all the crap that it created, and all the good that we can take from here on out. And it's difficult because the paradigm shift just happened. So you're looking at your old stuff and feeling from it, and then you're looking at your new stuff and feeling from that. So we're still very much on the threshold and sorting out and adjusting to all of this new awareness and all of the feelings caused by them. So what I talked about was being able to discern between your own shadow and just subconscious unknown stuff, right? That being enough to work with on any given day. And the distinction between that and pathological type personalities and behavior. Otherwise, you're going to want to keep on going, healing a situation in a format that doesn't apply to it. So to make distinctions and give you a little discernment as to what would be more productive to work with and what wouldn't be. Because some of us are tempted to want to heal something we see needs healing, including ourselves and our part in that, whether it be a relationship or a job situation or your family dynamic, whatever. We're tempted to, oh, I want to fix it, I want it to be better. I want change, I want to bring about good change, when it can't apply because the whole dynamic is toxic and pathological. You can't deal with that. The universe has to deal with it, and the people involved who have the pathology need to be the ones responsible. And it's not our place to point that out to them. Because by its nature, by default, you can't do that. You can't. It's something that the universe has to bring to them. You know, maybe maybe show some way of intervention, but you can't keep holding on to the hope of fixing something with materials that don't apply to it. So I wanted to help you make a distinction between what's human error, because as a instinctive response to possibly losing or needing to separate ourselves from someone or something that we've grown very accustomed to and comfortable with and love very much, or it's part of our survival, we're going to resist that. So that's normal. But to try and heal it might keep you entrapped in the situation and make you toxic. And let's realize, I mean, you accommodated that system for some reason, by default, intentionally or unintentionally. It's like you fit into that dynamic before. You know, you might have been overly accommodating. You might have been codependent. Whatever reason, you know, and that's your shadow stuff, okay? But how your shadow stuff contributes to a toxic environment doesn't mean that you're toxic. It doesn't mean that you're that type of person. It doesn't mean that you're pathological. But you might want to stay in a situation thinking, oh, it's just shadow stuff, when really it's pathological stuff. So I just want to go into the distinction between the two. And I'm going to burn some sage, because just talking about it brings the energy around. And it's scary when you are, I'm going to call in some protection about this. The other thing is I'm lighting some sage, excuse me. The other thing is that it is not ever to be our intention to demonize somebody or villainize them, make someone else out to be the bad guy. But there is no way in hell that you should not be able to speak the truth in order to set yourself free from something that is harmful. In other words, forgiveness doesn't apply. Forgiveness doesn't apply. And that's where the nice part of you might go, oh, but I'm supposed to forgive everyone 10 times over. It's like, no, you're not. I'm not talking about holding a grudge or demonizing another person. You have to speak the truth regardless of what it is, because then it detoxifies you, first of all. Detoxifies all the toxic effect on you that you've been carrying around. Also, it can shift your awareness to the point where you start healing. But it can also cause some retribution. You know? I mean, think about it. In the worst case scenario, say you had a family member who was physically abusive and beat everybody, and everyone kept it a secret like it was an elephant in the room. And what they're doing is enabling that person to continue to be abusive. So, but in speaking the truth, this is for yourself, not to put the attention on the abuse or the negative stuff, but to put the attention on setting yourself free and healing from the situation. And in short, you might not be thanked for it, but you can know that you're doing the right thing. You can know that you're doing the right thing, and it's out of love. Because who knows, you know, healing can happen across the board in unexpected ways, but only pay attention to your own healing and deal with that. So here's some discernment that I was given to directly from Spirit, because I couldn't even discern the difference between my normal everyday interactions in a bad environment and what was actually abusive and toxic. So you don't apply, when it comes to human error, you apply forgiveness and healing. When it comes to toxic behavior, you apply a boundary. No forgiveness, no nothing. It's pathological. You don't interact with it. You don't interact with it. You apply a boundary. And that's that. That's all you got to do. Easier said than done. You know, you'll be quaking in your boots maybe. But this is what I was told. And I was completely blind to these things and still continued to be in some way because I wanted to believe that this wasn't what it seemed to be pointing towards. I realized toxic behavior, but didn't realize that it was a toxic dynamic completely. So in other words, I was putting band-aids on things. Sometimes unintentionally, sometimes intentionally. It's like, I don't want to let go of this. I'm too scared. But the universe forced my hand and my awareness of it. And if that's anything to do with what you're going on, remember this applies to a one-on-one relationship, a family dynamic, a workplace, whatever group setting you're in. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what the setting is. It's person-to-person interrelation. Okay. This was actually not even my guide that came to me. It was someone else's guide that I'm close to. Came to me and pointed out to me what was abusive in the situation and what the cardinal sins were. This is how he worded it. This spirit guide worded it to me. You know, you have your own faith now. I'll talk about that experience another time, but you have your own faith now. You know in your heart. In other words, I was really in tune with, you know, my integrity, but that's not to speak about me being so wonderful. I mean the integrity of like the pure truth, unadulterated. Integrity referring to an unadulterated knowledge of and connection of God. He said, you know your own faith. And you know the cardinal sins of your faith, which is, and he listed them off exactly in this order, and I'm going to read it to you, and I wrote it down. So these are his words. Cardinal sins, and this will help you distinguish between human error and toxic behavior, okay? Cardinal sins. 1, abuse of any kind. Physical, mental, emotional. Okay? I'll get on the finer parts of that later. So, abuse of any kind. Human error would be your partner was abusive one time. And it's traumatic enough to go, whoa, you know, that behavior is like a deal breaker. But it's like this one time. They flipped their shit or whatever they did. Or you did, right? Or you did. And it's just not the norm for you. And you work it out and go, wow, I'm really sorry. You know, I in other words, sincerely, I will never do that again because that's not me. Or I didn't see it. I didn't see it as being abusive, but it got brought to light and you worked through it. And it doesn't ever happen again. You know what I mean? It's not an issue. This is talking about abuse of any kind not happening just that one time. It's talking about if it happens a second time, it's one time too many. One time too many. I would say physical abuse, one time is enough. Physical abuse, one time is enough. End of discussion. But abuse of any kind, that's number 1. Of any kind. The second cardinal sin is a harmful / toxic personality. That is alluding to a personality disorder that's pathological, like a sociopath, psychopath, narcissist, okay? And there are different kinds of narcissists. That's a big buzzword right now. An overt narcissist that's very obvious to spot is somebody like Donald Trump, okay? And that's not speaking on politics and shit. I'm just talking about his personality, okay? As a person who is he's easy to use as a reference because, you know, he's in the public eye, okay? And very obvious. Narcissist, okay? Completely delusional about their sense of entitlement, shifting the truth around a lot, you know, and yet deeply, deeply, deeply insecure, really, but on the outside overcompensating with this just ginormous sense of arrogance, and egotism. It's easy to spot. That would be overt narcissism. Covert narcissism is when they're just, masking on the outside, manipulating what you perceive of them, manipulating what you perceive. And either flat out denying what they're really like when you confront them with their behavior, flat out denying that they're like that, or lashing out at you, or getting you to question your own discernment about their behavior. That's covert narcissism, okay? So that goes under harmful, toxic personality. It's a pathological type of thing. Under that would fall like people who gossip, who slander everybody, who are phony. That's pathological, okay? The third thing on the list is dishonor. When you're disrespected or dishonored, like your value as a person just gets shat on. Like someone shits on your value. Doesn't make you lose your value, but it sure brings to your awareness that they don't value your worth. Okay, that type of thing. Fourth thing is withholding love. So personality quirks and such notwithstanding, like this person's introverted, they're shy, they're not very expressive, blah de blah. Okay. That's one thing. Someone who continually withholds love from you or punishes you by withholding their love from you to punish you. That's a cardinal sin. And that's something takes a while to pick up on. So withholding love. Kind of blacklisting someone, giving them the silent treatment, not interrelating with them, not wanting to connect with you, shunning you, in other words, not wanting to connect and have intimacy with you. I mean, these are the important people who your survival depends on, okay? That's what I'm talking about. And anyone else. So this would be a red flag. If a person, it's a difference between being shy and introverted and someone who just does not want to be intimate. Okay? So that's number 4. The 5th one is withholding support of basic needs. In other words, someone just is not taking care of you. Picture, in a family setting. Family, friend, a friend who's like family, your partner, your mate, your parents, your relatives, whatever. Whoever it is. But this is all relationship dynamics. So you have to assume this is about people you are in relation with, okay? Who you would depend on. How we help each other. So never mind the crap about we're all supposed to be autonomous and independent and blah de blah. It's like there's a buzzword almost surrounding that idea of being self-sufficient and love yourself first. And that's all true to a degree, but you don't love yourself in a vacuum. You don't become independent in a vacuum. And someone who's abusive will confuse that independence with isolation. Okay? This is different. This is when you're being isolated in a material way. Withholding support of basic needs, isolating you in a material way. Basic needs being material things that you need. So we're going to put a blanket thing on that as money. So someone is withholding money from you. If you're the stay-at-home parent, you don't earn income, but you're pretty much working for free, or you get the roof over your head and the food on your table, but you have no personal money at all. someone manipulating the money or always being the one to control it instead of it being a shared asset, whether you earn the income or not. You know, however you domesticate, it doesn't matter. It's if it's a shared household and you're head of the household also, you should have equal say, equal distribution, equal receiving of the money, equal say in how, in what's going on with it and where it's going. So if someone else is controlling that, withholding that support of that basic need, that is abusive. And it's a cardinal sin. It's a deal breaker. The other basic needs would be helping you. You know, not codependency, but help. You know, like helping you, supporting you be independent, as opposed to cultivating codependency. Some people will help you to death. They'll help you so much you grow dependent on their help all the time. You start feeling like you don't know how to do anything. So, do you see what I mean? Help. Are helping with conditions. Like, you know, you get helped when everything's okay, but if there's something amiss, the help stops. That's just weird. That's abusive too. And within the friendship sector, you know, I've been through 2 hurricanes since I've lived here. I've been through hurricanes before, but one destroyed my vehicle. Couldn't drive it. Help. Didn't come. It didn't come. And a friend of mine said, who's an actual friend, I wish I had known I would have helped you. And I'm like, I know you would have. I didn't even think. You know, but I didn't want to burden them either because they didn't have much either. You know. But all the friends who did have something, and I didn't ask for help. I just put it out there. My car's broken. I don't have. Does anybody know of any resources? Couldn't hear anything but the crickets chirping. You know. Not that anyone owes you something, but we're talking about help in dire need, and no one steps up. And this can happen in your own family. The help you really need, not the help that they give you on their own terms in order to kind of manipulate how they want you to be, okay? Or people who neglect to help you, okay? Like a relative of mine. I needed a place to stay. I need to get out of an abusive situation. Oh, sorry, I can't. That's too inconvenient for me right now. So, that type of help. Help. When someone withholds your basic needs, it puts you in a position of impoverishment. The other basic need that the spirit guide said, okay, money, help, human interaction. Human interaction. Does this person reach out to connect with you because they care about you? Are you being shown that you're loved? Do you have friends? Do they isolate you? Do they isolate you? No friends, no fun. We don't go out. Keep you all to myself. You know. No support system, but human interaction as in intimacy. You know, not just mushy romantic stuff, human interaction. Or do you get left like you're just a piece of furniture or a trophy on the shelf and they just leave you there? You know, that type of thing. Human interaction. That's one of your basic needs. The other one, and the last one, cardinal sin, is neglecting to protect you. Protecting you from any type of abusive situation that they're witness to. Someone who stands up for you, someone who has your back. You know, of course, it's your responsibility to take care of yourself. That goes without saying. But you don't do it in a vacuum. That we're talking about in a relationship. That person is supposed to back you just the way they back themselves. You would back them the same way you back yourself. So when that's absent, they don't protect you, right? They don't protect you from themselves. You know what that's like. It's like if you find it easier to lash out at your kids, but not your neighbor who you don't know. You know what I mean? That's like, you're not protecting your kids from yourself. And, you know, anyone with kids knows, on one of those bad days, you've done it, I've done it, for sure. Especially when I had PMS. But thankfully, and I don't have that anymore. But, so we all have a human tendency to let the ball drop on protecting our loved ones from our own bad sides, you know. But this is talking about the deal breaker of not protecting you from abuse and not protecting you from their ego, okay? So that's it. Abuse of any kind. Harmful, toxic, pathological personality, dishonor, withholding love and affection, I should add, withholding support of basic needs, as in money, help, and other human interaction, and neglecting to protect you. So, on some small scale, we've all probably experienced these coming from ourselves and coming from loved ones to some degree. You just discerning how often does this happen? How often does this happen? Some of these things should only happen once. Some of them not at all. You have to know that the threshold is very, very low for tolerance of any of these things on a regular basis. You can't keep saying, oh, well, they did it again, but they said they were sorry, so I'll give them another chance, you know. And if it's yourself, it's like, oh, I did it, oh, I'm sorry, and you try and wipe it up with an apology, and then it's like, oh, you can't, you just couldn't help yourself, you lashed out again. And it becomes like a habit, like a lifestyle, you know. That's serious. Those are deal breakers. You need some deep healing. If it's you, or if it's someone, if you're the victim of it. So, I'm going to read them off again. Write them down if you need to. If you're a person who is like, I don't even know. Oh my God, this is blowing my mind right now. I need to write this shit down. Abuse of any kind. Abuse of any kind. Harmful / toxic personality. 3, dishonor. 4, withholding love. 5, withholding support of basic needs. Food, clothing, shelter, human interaction. And 6, neglecting to protect you. Okay. I hate going over that stuff because, you know, it brings it to mind. But the reason I'm bringing it up, like I said, is not to demonize someone else. We're all being exposed in a way, but it's all taking accountability for what belongs to us. This is taking an account of what belongs to someone else, or what you need to own as part of your experience and see it for what it is. And that way you can write it down what the cardinal sins are, but write down when you know such and such has happened. One of these cardinal sins happened. Oh, another one did. Oh, another one. And it's like you're remembering them all and you kind of tally it up. You're not keeping score about someone else's behavior. You're taking account of how you allow yourself to be treated. How you allow yourself to be treated. Why? Because you want to stay connected to this person. You might feel that your survival depends on them, or you might be overly sentimentally attached. And if you were to look at the behavior instead of what they say, and just look at the behavior and took an accounting of it, and you saw it just on paper, and it helped you to literally do the math. This is taking into account how you have been unconsciously, consciously, unintentionally, intentionally allowing yourself to be treated by others. And it is a reflection of your self-love. You know, you're allowing someone to give lip service to you. They're saying, I love you deeply. You mean the world to me. And then they act like this. Okay? How many times? But I want to believe that they love me. Of course, that's natural. You getting the picture? It's like when you add that many dots up in a row over the course of time, you have to come to the conclusion that what they're telling you is incongruent with their behavior, and that what they're telling you may not really be genuinely, authentically love, and they don't know it. Sometimes people do. Sometimes people are just complete psychos and they don't love you and they tell you they do. Some people think they love you. They have very strong feelings about you, but they don't see that their behavior is incongruous with what they say, with what they feel even. Because they're not recognizing that this behavior is not love. So what you're feeling is not love. Because love doesn't fucking do that. Love does not behave that way. Ever. Love doesn't do that. Human beings make mistakes. Like I said, human error. Of course we've all done any number of those things once or twice, or oh shit, and we feel repentant, remorseful of it, all on our own. We take into account, we take responsibility for how we've made someone else feel. When it becomes a lifestyle of you hiding the fact that you do that, that's pathological. And it is not love. It is not love. That is not, love is what love does. Okay? And it's a hard truth to face, but that's the reality of it. So take these into account, write them down, not to keep score and demonize somebody, but to see how you've allowed yourself to be treated. And does that reflect self-love? You know it doesn't. I mean, it goes without saying. So this is in order to heal you, not in order to hold anybody else accountable, because you can't. But you can speak your truth in a safe place. You might not even have the opportunity or the ability, and you probably won't. If it's a pathological person, you can't work that out with them. You'll either get abused more, or you'll just get strung along, or, you know, the worst case scenario, they could get physical and hurt you, or abandon you, you know, whatever. Either way, it's not going to get absolved. So apply it to yourself, and slowly, gradually live with this awareness, one little bit at a time. You might want to go, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to come out of my skin. Sit with it. Trust me on this. I was shown this before and I didn't sit with it. I reacted. And I screwed up the process. I'm human. I did it. Now I'm doing it the right way. It's like I don't have a lot of time left to get my ducks in a row, but when you come to an awareness of something, it's like you implement it slowly so that it's not traumatic. And even though it's a paradigm shift, it does not have to become a crisis. You know, unfortunately it can. And you might have to go to like a shelter or something, you know. But here you can create your own shelter if things are safe enough. And gradually heal. And in your healing, that will ripple out to other people, but don't try and control it or look and see, how's my healing affecting other people? Disconnect from it. You have to let go. Let go of them. Grieve your feelings. try not to carry a torch. Go no contact. If you're dealing with a narcissist, you have to go no contact. Well, if you're dealing with a pathological person, you have to go no contact. None. Never mind that you have kids and stuff. I know, easier said than done, and maybe I'm not being practical, but they'll try and worm their way in to you through how they connect. They'll try and mindfuck you, get in your head through their connection with other people that are mutual associations, family members, friends. So just sever those ties. And maybe you have to do it in smaller increments. Sever one tie per day and start living with it. Get into the feelings of it. And mark my words and see if you don't start to feel alive again a little bit more at a time, and feel your light coming back, and feel your strength coming back, and feel your identity, your awareness of your true identity coming back, and go, oh, I remember this person. It's me. And you're going to be transformed. You'll be even better than you were before all of this started. Of course you will. Because now you've identified those things. Each time you identify something, commit it to your memory so that you know how to recognize it again. If you see it anywhere else. But burn the memory of it. Burn your personal connection to it. Write it down and acknowledge it and say, this is when so-and-so did such and such to me. Burn it. But remember the action, the dynamic, okay? Remember that. Write that down and keep it. But as far as who it's connected to and the memory of it and the emotional entanglement, burn that shit for good. Okay? And cleanse yourself of it. Take salt baths. Go to the beach if you can. Lie down on the ground in any way, shape, or form that you can. Outside, on the beach, in the woods, under a tree. Lie down on the ground and get grounded, and let the earth restore you and heal you. And see if you don't get messages from the earth itself. I'm not kidding you. This is a deeply, deeply spiritual type of healing. Well, I'm going to have to do the card reading separate now. So that's okay. I'll just do another video and it will be brief. So I'm putting this kind of as a disclaimer on all my videos. You have to clear out all this abusive shit, and your awareness or lack of your awareness between what's normal human error that you work with and what's pathological that you cannot work with and don't. It's dangerous to your well-being. Okay? So that's that. And it is serious, because the more entrenched you can get into it, you can plummet and spiral down into a very deep depression. You can start taking on these toxic habits yourself just so that you can live in this toxic environment. You have to become toxic. You have to acclimate to it, and you lose yourself. And it can even lead to suicidal thoughts and actual suicide. This is not a joke. This is serious. So once we get out of this and dark stuff, that's when we can start getting into the light. And so I wanted to put that because my guide said your life will improve drastically, not by what you acquire, but by what you eliminate. And this shit is what we're eliminating. But you have to know what you're eliminating and then emotionally detach from it. Okay, I hope that made sense. So we're in the eliminating processes because there's a whole new world coming in. A whole beautiful, big new world coming in. And so we're going to do this gentle, peaceful purging and honest, open, out there and open. Not to shame anyone, not to demonize people. Our attention is not on them. Our attention is on ourself and the truth of our experience And like some author said, I forget her name, but if she was talking about writing her characters, and some of her, like the villains in her stories, would definitely like directly correlate with someone who mistreated her in real life. And her advice was, well, if people didn't want you to write badly about them, maybe they should have treated you better. So, it's not to villainize someone though, but they might recognize themselves objectively as the villain in your story as you continue to heal and live and thrive without their behavior, without punishing them, but you have to speak your truth and get it out there in the open, not to exploit them, but in order to purge yourself of all of this. You can't suppress it. You've been suppressing it, and it needs to come out into the broad daylight, like Lady Hawk in the eclipse. Everyone recognized in one instant who the good guys and bad guys were, the good behavior, bad behavior, however you want to call it. And that needs to be done. It needs to be done. For your sake, about your experience, okay? You have to validate your experience to yourself, for yourself. No one else is going to do that for you. The abuser most certainly will not validate your experience. They'll try and convince you didn't have that experience, or that it was your fault. Or you have flaws too, and it keeps you stuck in that dynamic. So, refer to this video as often as you need to. And please, in the comment section, ask me questions. I'll answer them if you need to. I'll answer your question. Get a private reading with me, or just ask me in the comment section, and I'll answer you in a video. You don't need to pay me anything for that. If you want to make donations, you can, but money doesn't need to be involved. Okay? Ask me questions. Share this video. On Facebook. Share it wherever. Share it with your friends who you think might need it. Like, subscribe, whatever, so that if this is resonating for you, you'll get more of a continual stream of this, because this is where I'm going. About self-love. We're going to move away from the abusive and dark stuff, but this is what we're eliminating, and that's what we're addressing first. So then, on to the good stuff. Okay, so my time's running out, and I will do another video right now, back to back, with the reading itself. Okay, I hope that helped you. Please stay in touch, and visit my page, The Witching Hour, on Facebook. And write in the comment sections below if this helped you, or ask a question if you need some more help. Okay, thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.